Cameron from IPD here again to show you a quick tech tip today about how to remove the dash in your S70, V70, or C70. Typically that comes up when you need to swap some bulbs out, so that's what we're going to talk about. Very easy on these cars, and just a couple tools you really need. First one is this. It's just a Torx 25 driver. You can use a socket style, a screwdriver style, whatever you want, but Torx 25. The other one is the bone tool, which is an IPD part we have here. Makes the job 10,000 times easier. And the only other thing you're going to need is just a 10mm socket, and you just use this in a couple spots, and that's it. There's three main tools you need. First thing we're going to do for this to start is we're going to disconnect the negative terminal of the battery. Most of them are going to use 10mm socket. You just get right down here where the negative terminal is, loosen that bad boy up. After you've done that, you can just pull the cable right off, and you're going to set that off to the side. The reason we're doing that on these cars is because if you take the dash out, when you take the dash out, you have to disconnect the connector to the airbag in the passenger side. If you disconnect that with it powered up from the battery, when you put it all back together, you're going to have an SRS code, which you have to get reset. So to avoid that trouble, we just disconnect the negative terminal. So one of the things that will make this easier is take your steering wheel before anything else, loosen that up and pull it down and pull it up towards you as far as you can. Always nice to have a little bit of extra working room if you can. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our bone tool, and we're going to pop off all the vents and a couple other trim pieces that hide where those Torx screwdrivers are that actually hold this all together. This is where this becomes a very invaluable tool. It's super easy. All you have to do for the vents, for the speaker cover, stuff like that, is just pop it in here. I like to grab on the center part here, pop the bone tool underneath that, and with a little bit of finagling, it'll pop right out, just like that. Same story goes for this speaker right here, the speaker cover. Just pop the bone tool right underneath it. See how that lifts it right up? Pops right off. Same story there. Next one we're going to pull off is this little side vent here. All we have to do again, bone tool goes in. This one's a little more finicky. I like to grab in there too to handle on it, and then that pops right off as well. There's a little clip that clips right in there, and then this little tube pulls out. We have that out. Next thing we need to do is the same thing on the other side, exact same procedure. The speaker cover on the other side, the side vent on the other side, the vent that's there, and then also the center vent. Same thing. Bone tool works on all those, pop all those out, and you'll get to all the fasteners. So now that we've got all our plastic covers off, our vents, everything like that we needed the bone tool for, we need to switch to our Torx 25. You can use a driver, like a screwdriver style if you want. You can use a ratchet style like this. You do need to use something that you have some adaptability with, because a couple of them you need short ones for. There are two Torx screws up here on the instrument cluster that point up, and there's just not room to put a big long driver in there. So using one like this that you can put on a ratchet or a little stubby one works great there. The main locations for all these Torx screws on this side of the car are going to be one here underneath the speaker vent, one here on this side for where the vent for the side was we took off, one here behind this main vent, and in the center we've got two of them on the center vent. And then of course we've got the two that I mentioned right here. On the passenger side, we've also got a couple that I'll show you real quick when we move on that side. There's a couple on the glove box after we pull that out, and then matching on the vents over there. So, like I said, you can use whichever tool you like, but really these are just in here real loose, so they'll come out nice and quick. Alright, moving over to the passenger side, we have just a couple Torx screws I mentioned, which are up here and over here, and I already removed those. Next step we need to do is we're going to pull the whole glove box out. It all comes out as a unit, and we need to do that to be able to get to the last couple of fasteners, and also to get to where the connections are and the bolts are for the SRS system we need to disconnect. All this is super easy. It's just a matter of following the perimeter around, and you'll find Torx 25 screws on the top corners and then all the way along the bottom. So we just loosen all those up, and then the glove box all just pops out as a complete unit. Now that we've got all these screws out that hold it, we're just going to grab the sides of it and give it a little yank out. Now, be aware that sometimes they do stick a little bit. There's a couple little rubber grommets that hold it in there that are vibration isolators, and those stick in there sometimes. So sometimes you got to give it a little bit more of a yank. But I just like to grab it and just give it a pull out, and once you shimmy it out a little bit, the whole thing just comes out as a complete unit, just like that. Now you're on to the next thing. So now the glove box is out, we can get to the last couple fasteners. Underneath that, there are still just two last little Torx screws that hold it on. One of them is right here, and one of them's on this side. So real quick, I'll just put my Torx bit in here, get these guys out, and that'll be the last two fasteners that are used that actually attach the dash, besides the couple bolts for the airbag that we'll get to here in just a second. So, now that I've got these two removed, the dash is loose there, but we need to get to the issue with the airbag. It's really, really simple. You've got three main bolts that hold it in. First one you'll see is this one, and this is the one that has the ground strap to it that you can see from the airbag right here. It bolts down there, and then there's another bolt over here and another bolt over here. Those are just 10mm sockets, or 10mm head bolts, so just get your 10mm socket. You'll loosen all three of those up and just pull those bolts out. The other important thing for the airbag system is where the other electrical connector is. Behind that ground strap, there's another wire that plugs right into where the module is there. All you have to do is just unplug that guy, and then the dash will be ready to lift off. Alright, now that we got all those fasteners off, and we got the bolts and nuts off for the airbag and disconnected that wiring harness, we can just grab the whole thing and lift it off. Just grab on the sides, give it a pull back. Sometimes on this side, since the airbag's connected, you want to lift a little bit on this side. Make sure you didn't miss any screws, and then the whole thing just comes right out. Alright, the dash is out now, so we'll show you real quick how to get the cluster out so you can change the bolts in there. Once you have that out, it's super easy. You've got these two clips here, which is just a lift from the back and then fold it back over, like that. And then all we have left is just our electrical connections back here. I like to use the bone tool for this because they have these little releases right here to help lift them up. Once you have that, it's just a matter of popping that bone tool under there, slide it right out. Same for all of these. All three of these main connectors. The only other one that you're going to have to disconnect that's not quite plainly obvious is the one that's right back here on the back. And that one I like to just lift the whole cluster up a little bit once we've got that free and disconnect it that way. Sometimes they stick in here a little bit, but they'll lift off. Then reach back here to the back one, pull that connector off, pick it up, slide it out the side, and there you go. Got your instrument cluster out, easy peasy. Alright, now we've got the instrument cluster out of the car, and changing the bulbs out on it, which is the most common thing you need to take this out for, is super easy. If you look on the back of it here, we have a ton of different bulbs you'll see. All these are all the warning lights and stuff, but the main ones we're going to focus on are the main illumination bulbs, which is this one here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. Those are the main four. The other three that should be replaced at the same time is this one, and this one. These are the two for the trip computer at the bottom that show the time, your mileage, things like that. This one here is for the small little digital readout that holds your odometer on it. So once you have those in this position, it's just a matter of giving them a quarter twist, pulling them out. Do that for all of them, pop the new bulbs in there, put them back in, and you're all set. So with this guide, it should help you pretty easy to swap these bulbs out here with one of our light bulb kits and get you back on the road and able to see. So that's the basics of it for removing the dashboard in any of these cars, which is again 98 to 2000 S70 V70 and the C70 is 98 to 04. Pretty basic and nice and simple once you know where everything is. Installation of putting everything back together is just the opposite of removal. Super easy, just pop it all back in there and reattach all the screws and all the vents and stuff, just pop right back in. So with that, it should make your install of our dash illumination light bulb kit probably just about a half an hour to an hour affair. Nice and easy and nice and quick.